Here, a Bauma is too hard to reach.
Now back home and in line with our conversation today on the role of lastborns. Now Brian Mushiri spoke to Joel Kahoho, who is a lastborn, interestingly married to a firstborn, on today's episode of Your Voice.
My name is Joel Wairore, and I come from a family of 5, where we are 2 brothers and 3 sisters. So my family is a complete family. So I have my dad and my mom all together. My other siblings, the 4 of them, the age gap between them is 2 years each, and our firstborn is 1972. So my parents are also very old. I think my mom right now is in her 60s plus, and my dad is in her early 70s. Yeah, we have spent most of our time just 2 of us and my dad. Of course, Mzee will go in the morning and then maybe come later in the day. But me and my mom, we used to spend most of the times together. And my childhood was fun because I would say I had that moment of now, however much I'm the last one, I had the moment of acting as a first one. You're asking yourself why, or even how. Because, when they all left, they left me alone. So I had to partake all the responsibilities they had. As I mentioned, my mom is in her maybe mid-60s. So if you go back, you'll see by the time when they were all leaving and when I was left just me and her, she was in her 50s. And at that particular age, you would like so much to be a solution to your parent, not a problem. So this whole issue of being a lastborn and just having it easy, being pampered, being given whatever you want, I can't say I had the privilege of that. I grew up in the rural areas. I grew up in Gatondo South. So we had cows, goats, we have a shamba, and then we had a business somewhere there. So I used to juggle between all that. So I am taking care of the cows. I am taking care of the shamba kidogo here and there. So that shaped me so much. So I married the first one, and now today we are heading to celebrate our 2nd anniversary. So living with her has been also good, and I would say that experience which I had, and that's where I was driving to, the experience which I had back then shaped me to a person who, you see, she's a firstborn. She has grown taking care of the siblings. So, but true to it today, I don't think I'm a burden to her. I don't think I just sit down and wait for things to be done for myself. I tend to pre-plan. I tend to like be a problem solver even to her, and that now makes me divert from the notion that which is always there when people say that lastborns, they have grown up being pampered, they're lazy, they can't be responsible in life. Because I know it happens as well. I'm a BCom graduate accounting, but besides that, I had a passion for music. So at some point, I tried to do some music, and I love it. But besides that, I'm a 9-to-5 person. So I also had that serious side of life. I think also the personality trait count a lot, and they come into play so much, and that's what shapes you as a person. This life ain't easy, it can be easy without him, yo, this life ain't easy, and it won't be easy, hey, so you've got to hold on him, yo.
Well, an interesting conversation there capped with that song. And it's interesting that clearly Kahuhu had it a little bit different from what most people think or at least stereotype lastborns to be. So the conversation today is the role of lastborns, and to help us understand this better is Joanne Kirera, who is a family, child and marriage psychologist. We are also joined by Enoch Wambua, who is a lastborn, Kate Waka joining us virtually. She's also a lastborn, and of course Christine Jagu, who is also a lastborn. Thank you all for being part of this conversation. And Joanne, I mean, at this point, I think we need to reiterate, because as I said, we've been doing this birth order series and a lot came to the fore. But it's good to just remind us, how can two people or three born in the same family turn out so differently?
Thank you, Gladys, for having me. People turn out differently because of different factors. And one of the factors is how they perceive life. People perceive life differently because they're unique individuals. So in a family, people cannot be the same. And because they're different and they see things differently, then they turn out differently. The second part also is how they experience their own family, irrespective of which position one is born in. People experience what they go through very differently, and therefore they also are shaped by how they experience life in their own families and in their own environments, their other environments. But there's also the place of the birth position, where one is born, and because different families, and generally there's the way firstborns are handled, middle children, and even lastborns. But some families have their own special ways, and the first child will experience parents differently from the way the second does, and from the way the last does, or from the way any other position member does. So this also shapes how they will, you know, move through life, the kind of people they become, how they see life, how they perceive relationships, all those factors. Yeah.
All right. So is it heavily reliant on how they experience their growing up or how their parenting was done?
Well, there are two factors there,
Yes.
and both are almost equal, I would say. But the bigger part, I would say, is how they experience their parenting. Because my siblings and I may have had one experience, I interpreted it very differently from them. So it is partly how we experience, because it can't be the same experience, but we experience it very differently. But it's also how we were parented, because it's just not, we were parented very differently. I hear my older siblings talking about how they experienced our parents that clearly I didn't, because I was among the last. Ours was a large family, but still, the things I hear them talk about are clearly the things I didn't experience. There are also things I experienced that they say they didn't experience. So the two factors are equally important. Yeah.
Okay, and why is it crucial to interrogate that birth order and the impact it had on you growing up?
That's a very important part of myself and any other person, because some of the times you realize that there are common traits of lastborns or common traits of middle children that are common across board, and they may be feeling certain type of way about them. And there are also the way families look at their firstborns versus their lastborns, and the lastborn may be feeling compared, or the middle child may be feeling, you know, lost, without knowing that even the position they were born in influences those kind of things. So going through this and understanding how that impacts on a person helps them to just not normalize their own experiences, but also understand that some of those things are normal, some of them can be used positively, and even the negative ones can be adjusted. So other than just sit there and feel certain type of way, sometimes petty, sometimes bitter, then if they understand that those things are very normal for other people born in those positions, then they also get to understand how they can handle themselves. Use the positives for their advantage, and also the negatives work around them so that they can improve and get better.
Okay, now on that, I think it's good to remind you that the question of the day to you is, there are a lot of stereotypes, of course, out there about lastborn. So they say they're lazy, they're spoiled, but really the question to you is, from your experience, whether as a lastborn or having a friend who is, are they really spoiled? Are they all these stereotypes we talk about? Hashtag is a new normal. And a lot of you talking to us. Anne over here says, it depends with who brought you up. Our lastborn is so hardworking and focused, you would think she's a firstborn. Look at that. Okay. Frank says, any child, despite his or her position in the family, becomes who he or she is largely on the kind of parenting and minimally are products of a socialization pattern of him or her. Okay, Frank, I think I understand that. We'll break that down later on. Adrian Susan says, I'm the last one and I'm very hardworking. I'm a go-getter, even if sometimes I am lazy. I fear poverty and that's why I always work hard. Okay, at least you've got incentive. Joseph Maseta says, mine woke me up at 2 a.m. that she urgently needed to see my mom-in-law. Okay, this must be Joseph talking about the wife who is a lastborn. Now, Sarah Okoth says, I never judge because in my family, the lastborn is extremely responsible. My parents, especially Mama, did not pamper her, so she turned out a refined lady. Well done. Thank you, Sarah. Robert Oko says, I am a lastborn and I'm very lazy. If they don't do everything for me, I cry until they come and treat me right. Really, Robert? Okay then, so let's break this down and understand it from those that wear these shoes in as far as being the lastborn is concerned. And I'll start off with a boy child amongst us. Enoch, you are a lastborn in a family of 4. How would you say you experienced growing up?
Growing up was interesting. Being the lastborn, I think I had many people I'm learning from. So I had my siblings, I had my parents. So being the lastborn, being in the conversations my siblings were having and what they're talking about made me grow up faster. Even I got to listen to music because I'm a musician. I got to listen to interesting music because of my big brother. My brother used to play the guitar. He taught me how to play. So my growing up was interesting, being a lastborn.
Okay, now we've seen a couple of people say, these guys are lazy, these guys are spoiled, they just sit there and want the world to hand it to them. Did you have that kind of upbringing?
No, mine was actually a bit different because I had to up my game. I felt like I had to bring something on the table in conversations, so I was not pampered. I had to be a go-getter because if I was not saying anything that is making sense, I was not given a platform to even talk.
Oh, okay, yeah. Interestingly. Okay,
Yeah.
Did you ever feel ignored when everyone else has an opinion, but they think the lastborn bado hajatosha mboga?
At some point when I was younger, I felt ignored, but after some time and after understanding and even growing up myself, I was given attention.
Okay. All right. Now, you are the lastborn, and it's interesting. Some of the characteristics they list about lastborns is that they are the ones most often than not that end up being creative, have artistic pursuits, and they are very open-minded. Do you think that's the advantage you got?
Yeah. There's open-mindedness and then also siblings who give you assurance. Older siblings, because they've seen it. They've seen life a bit more than you. So it helped me. It pushed me, that assurance from my siblings and my people to push what I love to do, not what the society is giving me to do.
Okay, now being a lastborn and a boy, are you mama's boy?
I don't think I will say that, but we have a good relationship with my mom.
Okay, this is you being very diplomatic, but hey. All right then, let's hear from the other lastborns. Kate Walker, you are a lastborn in a family of 6. Tell us about your experience growing up.
Okay, for me, it has been awesome. There are times, yes, I felt pampered, but there are times where I felt like I really needed to step up on my own. Like, for instance, in my school days, primary school, somehow they ensured doing this in primary school so that I kind of have that thing of she's safe around her siblings. So that was primary school. And then going to high school, I was in day school, and when in day school, my sister was ahead of me when I was in Form 1. So what my dad did, he used to make sure when my sister would leave school, I live with her. Like my dad would tell her, don't leave without her. Or even in the morning, he would just tell her, don't go without her, because he felt like I was going to get lost or something. So it was that aspect of I needed my siblings to be around my siblings for safety, you know. And then also there are times when going to church or meetings, I would just accompany them, or I would just find myself in their spaces and with grown-ups and all that, but I'm still over there just sitting and learning. So there's that side of learning again from them, and stepping into their shoes at some point and just getting to hear a different view from grown-up side, yeah. And then, but then, where I am right now at the moment, I'm at a place of I'm not just the last born. I also need to do my own things, my own way, because I love being free and wild somehow. So I don't like being tied down. So being a last born just doesn't mean that now you guys need to control me over and over again. So sometimes when I get home, like when I'm not home by 9, I get calls. Oh, hi, what happened? You know. But so sometimes I'm like, okay, just relax. I'm coming home. Okay. So yeah, even right now, I'm like, guys, I can take care of myself.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Now, here's the thing I would like to understand. Do you feel close to your siblings?
Yeah, I do. It's just that sometimes I love my own space, and I don't like it when they kind of come so much close and try to kind of, how do I put it? We are close, yes, but I don't like it when someone is too deep into my space. Yes.
So for you, it's actually the opposite. Everyone is all up in your business and you just want some independence.
Exactly.
And you are grown, wanting independence from your siblings. How do your parents treat you today?
Today, I still feel like somehow, especially for my dad, he kind of thinks that I'm still like a baby. So he tries to figure out how he can try and help me do some stuff. Like, for instance, when I was 18, he helped me go for my ID, like do the process. Actually, all the processes I've ever done with government processes, I've done them with my dad. So, like, I had his help all through. So even right now, I'm sure he can just tell me, let's go, I can help you do this and this and this. But then I'm like, I can do it by myself now. Thank you. From here, I can take it over.
Okay.
So yeah, that's how it feels like sometimes.
Okay, so Kate, would you say that you were spoiled and pampered growing up?
To some extent, yeah, I was, especially in high school, because ideally, I wanted a boarding school, but then my dad was like, you know what, actually just stay in that day school, you're fine over there. So from there, I was like, wow. So he just wanted to keep me close somehow. So to some extent, yes, I was pampered, but then I've had to step out of it. Yeah.
All right. Coming from the girl child, another different perspective. Let's hear from another one. Christine Jagi, last born in a family of 4. Was your upbringing different?
Well, I can relate with what they have said. But my upbringing was a little different because I was a last born with a very big age gap. So the sibling that I follow is 8 years older than me. For that reason, I felt like I grew up with 5 parents as opposed to a last one, the classical last one. So it was different in that way. So I was forced to grow up really quickly, but at the same time, they did indulge me a little bit. But I was forced to grow up a lot quicker, and have a lot more responsibility and try and keep up with my siblings a lot.
And now, Christine, or rather Katie, saying that she felt or still feels like people are all up in her business. Now with 5 parents watching over you, did it feel the same way?
For a period, yes, for a period, but it was nice. I'm not complaining because each of them played a different role. So my big brother, my firstborn brother, was very protective and very strict. My sister nurtured me a lot more. The brother that I follow taught me a lot of order and a lot of life skills. So it was nice. But now that I am older and I'm an adult and a parent by myself, they're not in my business as much. Maybe I would want them to be a little bit more in my business, but they're not in my business as much, no.
Oh, okay. Do you kind of miss that attention that came with you being the baby of a family?
Well, it would be nice. I'd make a few less mistakes, but yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So when you hear people say, hey, these last-borns, they are for drama, they are lazy, they are spoiled, they want everything done their way. Do you agree?
At least in my case, no. I didn't have that privilege because I was growing up with a lot of teenagers, and teenagers don't have patience for children. So you don't have that opportunity to have things done for you. In fact, they're really nasty at times. So yeah, I didn't grow up with that experience of everything is done for me. So it was very equal opportunity, and growing up quickly. You have to pull your weight very quickly.
Okay, with an 8-year gap from the second last-born, clearly you were the retirement baby. Are you close to your parents? Do they still feel like they need to protect you?
So my parents have both passed on, but before they did, I was very close with my parents, but my parents had a very unique way of raising us where we were very independent. They looked at us as individuals. So I never felt like I was pampered more than the others. So they were very aware of their different children's needs and where to meet those needs.
Interesting. Joanne, just listening to everyone, clearly you can tell people have different experiences growing up, even if they have the same position or birth. But then again, one thing stands out. The rest of the family is always either giving them too much attention or ensuring that they are actually in the straight and narrow. Talk about now experiencing that as a child.
Wow, that's a very interesting perspective, but a very different one as well, because there are some people who are given attention to become, to grow up, to be responsible. Now, this one is still a form of attention, but that gets them to a place of responsibility and to become more driven, self-motivated, to be able to depend on themselves. Still attention. Now, there are others who are given attention in terms of overprotection, and these ones learn more to depend on others. And so the dependency can increase as they grow up, or they can rebel from it. More like what Kate was talking about. Now wanting to stand for myself and by myself, as opposed to having you run my life. So this attention can lead to two ways. One is people become very responsible because they were driven that way, and others become very dependent because they learned that things can be done for them. But largely, last-borns seem to want attention throughout life, in the sense that if people are not seeing you, whether it is for good or it is for the negative, then almost don't get it. Unless someone gets to a point of self-awareness and knowing that they don't have to, I can be by myself. But if they are not in that space, there's a tendency of even those who are thriving to wonder, why don't people see? Because they got used to having all eyes on us. We are the attention, we are the focus. So they tend to really want that. But of course, that is not true for everyone, because some people have long gained self-awareness and they have known that I don't have to have anyone seeing me. I am okay being able to acknowledge my own progress. But those who haven't clearly seem to want attention. Even in a marriage setup or in a relationship setup, they still want the other person to see because they learned to receive it. It's their way of life.
I'm still the baby. You need to recognize this. Okay, then. Still a lot more of your feedback, even as we asked, do you believe the stereotype that lastborns are just downright spoiled? That hashtag is new normal. If you can have some of those on the screen, we have D. Kubasu who says, people should stop stereotyping about all lastborns. It all depends with someone's background, upbringing, and more of exposure. I have seen lasties who are hardworking than firstborns, and also the vice versa, and they are actually the lazy ones in reference to the firstborns. Okay, Carol Wakamoto says, ours is not spoiled. She just likes the soft things of life. Ha! I see the lastborn smiling. Soft life, eh? Esther Badenge says, I have two in my house. Married to one, gave birth to the other. They are identical. Esther, how identical are they? All right. Wanyonyi here says, Charlie, ukioa lastborn, ujue vyombo ni wewe utaosha. Kidogo unasikia nataka niende home, mama yangu anaumwa na kichwa nimpeleke paracetamol. Wanyonyi. Yes, they normally are mama's children. Stacy Williams says, yes, our lastborn, if he is angry, he will not eat. How old are they now? Ah, okay. Caleb Osiemo says, it depends on which generation you were brought up. I belong to that generation that used to receive a thorough beating, even for the slightest mistakes, like sitting in the sitting room with a visitor, crying for a visitor's loaf of bread, or refusing to eat or drink porridge. Okay, Caleb, we hear you. Clearly you had no room to be spoiled. Now, Luther King Jr. here says, kalasbon utakachuna asubuhi na katalia jioni saa mbili mama yake akirudi. Touching to this soft life that lastborns really are attracted to. And I see you guys smiling because perhaps you recognize some of these traits when you were growing up and how that used to look like. And speaking of which, I think we have some memes of how some people actually view lastborns. If you can have that on screen. It's a lastborn affair. Are you seeing what I'm seeing here? Are you seeing what I'm seeing here? All right, then on to the next. How lastborns chill by the door at midday waiting for parents to come back at 6 p.m. so that they can report you. Oh yeah, ukiwachuna asubuhi watalia jioni when the parents come home. Another one here, lastborn akibeba mkate kutoka kwa duka hadi nyumbani. Mi pekee ndio ufanye kazi kwa hii nyumba. And of course they are on the floor, almost dying because they did too much work going to the kiosk. If you can have another one. Oh wow, when a lastborn gets married to a lastborn. Mess, mess, mess. Okay. Oh, a lastborn after washing a cup and a spoon. Okay, clearly these memes say a lot about how we view lastborns. And Enoch, you're laughing. Is it because you know you pull some of these stunts growing up?
Not really. Because I'm just seeing how lastborns are stereotyped.
But is it really a stereotype? It must have come from somewhere. Think about it. When you were growing up, were you the kind of young one when you were told by your siblings, ntakuchapa, and then you come and say, Mami aliniambia nichapa?
No, I think my siblings were good. Our corner and chapa.
Okay, yeah. But how would you say you were? How did you stand out amongst other siblings?
Truth be told, I was given the soft life. I think when my siblings, actually we have, I think we're similar with our age difference is 7 years with my sister. My sister is 7 years older than me. So they grew up together, the three of them. And then, as you said, I was the retirement baby. Yeah, so that difference like helped me because now my parents had grown, so they took me to private school. My siblings went to a public school. So I think I found when things were okay.
Oh yeah, lastborns normally are the ones who are picked up by the bus. They never walk to school. They never carry packed lunch. They eat in school. I see the soft life. Now they also say in terms of characteristics that the youngest children in the family are typically charmers and manipulators. Do you relate?
I think it's, I don't think that people are people. If you're a manipulator, you'll be a manipulator, even if you're a firstborn or a lastborn. So let's not put it on the lastborn. If you're a manipulator, you're a manipulator.
All right, Enoch.
Yeah.
Think about the circumstances you have been in where you wanted something the rest of the siblings have tried, but for some reason Enoch always gets his way. How did that work out?
Actually, I didn't get my way most of the time. But I think it worked out in its own way.
So we don't want to put the labels on it, but we know we had it a bit easier. Sawa. Let me hear from Kate. Do you think you got away with a lot that the other siblings wouldn't?
Yeah, personally I did. For instance, when it came to punishment, I wasn't punished a lot. There's one time I remember my dad beating me for the first time, and I think he felt bad. And that day he was beating me because I was really running around the house and I was making a lot of noise, and I think he was watching maybe his favorite show, news. I really loved news. So from there, he kind of took me, beat me up, and then he just told me, go. So by the time I went outside, I made news again. So I kind of used to get away with punishment because I was never used to being punished. Yeah.
Ah, interesting. Now, even as we're sorting out your audio, I think you need to remove your earphones from the sweater. Let's cross over to Christine. When you hear the stuff that lastborns got away with, still get away with, did that happen for you, and did you take advantage of these situations?
Well, I don't remember getting away with too much. As I mentioned, I had 3 full-time parents at home, so they never used to go to work. So I wouldn't get away with too much. I'd be in trouble for doing the small things with them. But my parents were very mellow. I will say that. They weren't as, I mean, the horror stories that I had, I didn't exactly face them to that degree. But my mom was very strict even during my time, which makes me wonder how bad it was for the first 3 kids.
Yeah. Okay, and when you think about it, I mean, 5 people who were strict on you and all that, I mean, there has to be some form of defense mechanism that you picked up. Which one was yours? Was it the one for waiting for the folks to tell them, watu wananipeleka mbio sana?
No. I did not tell on my siblings for being strict with me. I think I just ended up being very straight and narrow and doing what needs to be done. But I did try and rebel a bit.
Rebel?
Yes, a bit. Just pushing the just a bit.
Okay, so when you say rebel here, is tell the rest of the siblings, mwache kunibeba mboga.
Yeah, and refusing to do what you know is good for you because you have been told to do it. So study time, I don't want to study. But there's somebody there breathing down your neck,
I hear you. And Joanne, this brings another perspective to the lastborns that I've also talked to some, and they've said they grew up wanting to protect their space. Like, they want to get what they want in life. They want to always get away with it. But they also don't want their other siblings to be always on their neck, breathing down their neck. Tell me the interpretation of that, being the last one that everyone wants to be in the space.
I believe that is suffocating for everyone, lastborn or not. But now lastborns experience that a little more because every other person wants to see you well. And because also the other siblings are told to take care of you, and if they do not, that's an offense from the parent. So they do that, the other siblings do that. And Gladys, you realize that in families where other children are not made responsible over you, then that doesn't happen a lot. So one of the ways that the lastborns can be freed of this is by the other siblings not being given the responsibility to watch over them, to ensure they are fine. And when the lastborn is not fine, then the others are punished for it. That way they get too much into the space when that is allowed. And the last born would definitely want to rebel against that so that they have their own space. So what is called rebellion, in a sense, is also understanding and appreciating their own uniqueness as individuals and not wanting to run by what others think is fine or is okay. So when they do that, they are simply behaving normal. They are stamping their place as individuals. And even if it's called rebellion, actually they are being healthy. This one I am speaking for the last one.
For the last one. Mepata mtetezi.
Also, because also if they keep following what others are saying all the time,
Yes.
they will even later in life have to look at people or look for people who they can be dependent on, which is not a strength. So as parents interpret it as rebellion, as siblings interpret it as rebellion, they need to ask, do they have their own mind? Do I want to think for them, or do I want them to learn to think for themselves? I believe the latter is finer and better.
Yeah.
But also, there are times they just experience, like you said, they go by the loaf of bread and come home and say, mimi ndo nimefanya kazi yote. They also perceive those kind of perceivings, even if the others have worked and it's just being sent, go pick the spoon, go speak. There's always a feeling of everyone is on me, and therefore I am simply refusing every single thing they are saying because I don't want to be bothered. There's also that, even if ideally is not true, because 3 people have sent you for small tasks while they have done all the major tasks. That feeling of I am already too tired, don't guys send me again, then again they tend to go against that so that they can stop you from giving them assignments, however small. It's again interpreted as rebellion.
So in this case, this attention that perhaps the other siblings would want to have can be counterproductive, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Yes. All right. Now, somebody else points out here that the firstborn, everyone was all over their, business because parents are trying to figure out how to bring up their first child and all that. By the time you're getting to the lastborn, the parents already know how to bring up the kids. So really, lastborn ajipange. Have you seen that? And what's the impact of it saying?
That happens a lot. That happens a lot, and I will still say it's an unhealthy way of a parent raising the child, because while they were too much over the firstborn, the learning need to be that I don't need to be all over them. I need to allow them to experience their life, but also set limits as a parent, or guide them where they need guidance. And that needs to cut across first, second, or last. So if a parent has done too much for the first child, it's okay to tone down on the second or whatever other numbers they have, but also on the last, they need to realize that throughout life, the parent will always not be there for the child. And as such, they need also to train them adequately, give them responsibilities, allow them to do the things that need to be learned through life, but also support them. They will still have an advantage on grounds of their birth position. But then again, where parents have given them an opportunity to do the things that need to be done, in other words, not overprotect, then they also end up becoming very well adjusted children and successful.
Now, before we take a quick break, I could hear Enoch in my ear saying, I agree, I agree. Why you do you feel like you kind of brought yourself up because everyone else had figured it out?
I feel like I had to fight for myself being on the table. So it made me work on myself, work on growing up. But I think it was a good thing also, because seeing how my siblings have a relationship with God or such things just made me want to emulate that and want to be like them. Something else I was agreeing with is my siblings helped me explain things to my parents that maybe I was too small to be able to explain to them.
Okay, so they charted the path for you, so wewe ilikuwa smooth sailing. All right, I see the advantage of that, especially coming from a firstborn. I see how that happened a lot more often than not. Now, when we come back from the break, they see another characteristic of growing up as a lastborn is that the pressure is off the lastborns in terms of having to meet their parents' high expectations, so they are more likely to achieve their own way in life. I wonder if this resonates with the lastborns we have on here. But remember, we're also asking you on that question of the day, do you think that lastborns are just stereotypically spoiled and lazy? Hashtag is new normal. We'll be right back.
Did you know at Ruiru Mabati Factory, we offer free delivery within the same day? Did you know at Ruiru Mabati Factory, you can open an account and lipa pole pole at your convenience? Did you know at Ruiru Mabati Factory, you can get customized sizes according to your roof plan to avoid wastage? Call us now on 0111 050 700. Ruiru Mabati Factory, mali safi kwa bei poa.
The ability to interact with others in a courteous, approachable, and professional manner will enable you to work well with fellow students and with future colleagues.
Our graduates and our future leaders make some of the most sought-after professionals in their respective industries. We admit both self- and government-sponsored students for our master's, degree, diploma, and certificate programs that are accredited by the Commission for University Education. The moment you have been waiting for is here. Zetech University. Invent your future.
All the days and the nights, reading for them and to them. You don't stop, and neither do we. Help build a strong foundation for your growing child with Nestle Nunkid. Nestle Nunkid 4. Our best for you.
Hey, what's up, beautiful people? How you doing?
The youth are the future, but we say the future is now. Do you love life and have the energy to carry an audience from start to finish? Can you interview some of the biggest names in music, sports, arts, and culture? Are the issues that affect young people issues that you can articulate? Well, it is you that we are looking for. Teen Republic is looking for the next presenter to hold it down. To qualify, record a 1-minute video telling us why you think you are the next host of Teen Republic. Show us your ability to switch between English na Sheng bila kublanda. And you must be 25 years or younger. Send the video to 011-200-1644. Entries close on the 13th of August 2021.
Thank you for staying with Your World. My name is Gladys Gachanja. Today we are focusing on the last bones, putting or drawing the curtains on our series on birth orders, and helping us along with this conversation, Joanne Kirera, who is a family, marriage and child psychologist, joined by last bones who are Enoch Wambua, Kate Walker and Christine Jaggi. And before we went to break, a lot was still being said about the last bone, but we're also trying to break it down to understand how those experiences inform their world view today, and perhaps who they will be as parents as they bring up their own children. And a lot of your memes still coming through, even as how you perceive these last bones. Last born akimaliza kuchemsha maziwa, kikombe cha maziwa. You can see the state of the kitchen after they're done. Okay. A last born akimaliza kuosha vyombo, tukunywe dawa, tupumzike, our lives are at stake. If we can have the next one. Oh, last bones be like, Mama amesema unipulize niache kusikia joto. Maybe that is such a typical meme, and I'm sure you're smiling and others are saying, yeah, that's a typical last boy. Christine, why are you laughing? Why is this funny for you? Is it because you relate?
No, because I think it's ridiculous. I think it's really stretched.
Yeah?
Yeah. I don't think anybody lives like that, really.
Now, I think from a last born, talking about it being true, you might not see it. For us who are older siblings, tumeona a few things. But anyway, but even as we went to break, I mentioned that they say another thing that happens perhaps as an advantage to the last borns is that the pressure of living up to the expectations of your parents is sort of absorbed by the other siblings. By the time you're getting to the last born, they're given leeway to become whoever they want to be. Do you feel you were given the same leeway, Christine?
For sure, I didn't feel the pressure to perform or to be anything other than what I wanted to be, and for that I'm very grateful. I don't also know if the rest of the siblings felt some sort of pressure. Maybe it was just my parents, but I really didn't feel the pressure to be anything. So I had freedom to really be whatever it is I wanted to be, and I'm grateful for that.
Okay, and when you say freedom to become anything, does that mean when it came to school, whatever courses you chose, they never questioned, no one raised their finger, you just went and did whatever you wanted?
Yes, so I pursued a bachelor's in natural science, and they hadn't heard of it. So I'm the one who found out what it was, where it was being offered, pitched it to them. They were actually concerned if I'd be able to handle it. But also, I guess the rebellion in being a last born, I like being underestimated. So I had a point to prove in doing the program. But I really had the freedom to do whatever it is I wanted to do.
Isn't it interesting that they thought you wouldn't be able to handle it? Why? Because you're the baby of the family?
Actually, it was my dad, and I think it was mainly because it was a purely mathematical course. It was like, all this math, will you be able to handle it? And I was like, hold my beer, you know. Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
So I had a point to prove.
And I also see how some of these perspectives are also playing a part in all this. Kate, do you feel the same way? You were given leeway to be whoever you wanted to be?
Yeah, I was, and it's good. It's a good thing that I got to be like that. And it's actually unfortunate, and I find it so unfair for the older siblings to kind of be put at a place where they have to live a certain life. It's like the parents are trying to live a part of their life that they didn't live in their firstborns or secondborns. Like, I'm trying to put these expectations on you because I wanted to do them myself, but I couldn't do them because of maybe different issues. So I'm putting the pressure on the firstborn so that they can pull up a certain aspect of them in their children. But on my end, I have the leeway, yes, of doing the things I want to do, even though sometimes it wasn't easy, because still there are times my dad will still send me particular jobs for particular things. Like, for instance, I've done education, early childhood. So he will send me jobs and try to push me into government jobs. And I'm like, no, So sometimes when at the moment I'm doing a totally different job. I'm in BPO, and I didn't tell him directly. It's actually my mom who told him, because I knew he was gonna question me, why are you not in this and you did this. So at some point it wasn't an easy path for me to follow what I wanted, but I can say I have had the privilege to follow what I wanted.
Okay, so Enoch, you're the creative here. Did they come at you for surely creativity, music industry, utapata pesa kweli? Is that really a good choice?
For me, my perspective is a bit different. I'm in a family that is very into books. So they accepted my creativity, but pushed me to study. Yeah, so to pursue education on whatever I want. So not just to be a musician and not... so I'm very grateful for that, because now I can even teach and still perform and still do different things because of that pushing to education. Yeah.
Okay, there's something that Christine mentioned, that when she said she wanted to pursue actuarial science, there was the question, utaweza kweli? And it makes you wonder, is it that they look at the last one as you can't handle, you know, tough things in life because you're used to the soft life of things?
I think yeah, in some elements, in some ways, yeah, you're viewed as utaweza kweli. But I think now for me, I took that positively and went became a go-getter. When we were talking the other time, that made me become a go-getter, because I want to prove them that I can.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Joanne, this is a very interesting perspective, because I mean, just because I'm the baby of a family does not negate my potential, but clearly you can see when the parents look at them as, oh yeah, you're the egg of a family, will you handle such hard things? What does that tell about the kind of parenting we also give to these lastborns?
Overprotection. They are so protected that the parents and the siblings imagine that they haven't experienced anything hard enough to be able to handle the hard things of life.
So you know how you're setting them up and still question if they can handle.
Actually, it's not that. That's not how it works. It's just that the fact that when they are growing and they are in a certain space of life, that's when they realize that, oh, these ones didn't pambana like the others. So it's not like we are setting them up in that sense, because that would appear so deliberate, which is not. So when it's time for them to go out there and experience life by themselves, because they haven't been given an opportunity, it's when it becomes very clear. So the question of, are you able to do it, is not so much of doubt, by the way. It's so much of wanting to be sure that they are up to task. Now, the last one is likely to interpret it that way. What makes you think I can't? Because again, it feels like you don't believe in me. But it's more of, the same overprotection sort of continues, that we want to be sure that you're safe out there. But I also need to say, by last ones being last ones and having more time to play, because there are no other children who had a lot of time to play like last ones, by having a lot of time to play and also experiencing their own life, not what their parents want to do, then mentally they are very sharpened to be able to do things that they want to do. And that's why they are very creative, by the way. And so if parents would look at this other side and encourage, because they already have that, it has been provided them. So if they would encourage and move their hands off from pre-adolescent, adolescent, of course from when they are young, but now release them more pre-adolescent, adolescent, and as they become adults, lastborns can do so much more. Because as you also listen and hear from the participants, you realize, and other, you know,
lastborns,
yes, you notice that most of them are very, very successful. Actually, more successful than the other siblings. So if they can only be encouraged to go for it, you're up to task, go for it, then you realize lastborns automatically have a better place of thriving than all the other siblings.
Interesting twist, and Enoch is agreeing very hard, and I see Christine and Kate doing the same thing. Now, if you think about now that kind of exposure growing up and all that, how has that impacted on who you are as an adult? I'll start off with you, Kate. Who are you, for example, in friendships, in relationships? Who are you attracted to? Who do you hang out with?
Wow. Okay, with me, I love hanging out with people who are open-minded. I'm attracted to people who are open-minded, soft, gentle, people who tend to lean more on the creative side than people who are in the this like serious business sides, like corporate sides. You won't find me with them so much. But anyone who's in the creatives, doing something to do with things to do with anything creativity, yeah? Music, things to do with art, writing, speaking. I'm attracted to those kinds of people. And those are the people I tend to follow more on social media than people who are in the business world. Yes, that's it for me.
Okay, and what do you do yourself? Are you in the creative industry too?
Yeah, but not really but I'm into music, and I also do, I run some ladies stuff called Redesigning Life. So it's more of just a relaxed piece, yeah? More of relaxed, not seriousness, not so much seriousness. I'm not actually into so much seriousness in life.
I hear you. Enoch, clearly you said you're the creative in this, but who are you attracted to? Friendships, relationships?
I feel like I'm attracted to solid people, people who are true, because that's what I got from my siblings. We have a good relationship with my siblings, and they're solid people and firm people. So those who are my first friends, and then now, so definitely I'm emulating that with the friends I have right now. So yeah, that's what I look at.
Interesting. You know, they say when you're getting married, you're either looking for your mom or your dad in your spouse. You brought a different twist to this. When you're actually hanging out with your friends, your siblings are represented somehow. True. Okay, how about you, Christine?
So, well, in terms of friendships, I find myself attracted to more mature people who challenge me. So I find myself having friends who are older than me, some few years older than me, because I relate to that naturally, because I would hang out with my sister who is like 9 years older than me. My eldest brother is 12 years older than me. So I'm naturally attracted to people who are a lot more mature, a lot more stable, and have a value system, yeah? Even at a much in my 20s, at a much younger age, I was still very mature for my age, and I found myself gravitating towards people who are of similar mindset.
And speaking about maturity, and even when you were younger, you acted as such. You said you got married pretty young.
Well, I got married young.
Okay.
I got married at 24, but he wasn't much older than me either. So I guess, yeah.
Okay. And do you think you got married at 24 because perhaps your worldview was, as you call it, mature already?
Most likely, yes. It did play a big part, because that was also the age that my siblings were getting married as well. So there was a lot of relating to that kind of life and admiring that kind of life. So I was always a bit more mature than my peers. Yeah.
Okay. And okay.
So I got married most likely 5 to 6 years before most of my friends.
Ooh, okay. Interesting. I see Enoch agreeing with you. Enoch? Yeah. And what do you resonate with?
I resonate with being mature earlier than my peers. I usually felt like I was, in terms of thinking and in terms of so many things, I was a bit ahead of my peers. So that made me have friendships with people who are older than me, and you have really, really good conversation and friendships with people who are older than me.
So you're the guy within the group where they've had all these conversations and they're like, you're a last born, you don't even sound like one.
Yes, true.
So Kate, quick one. Last born in a family of 6. What's the gap between you and the second last born?
The second last born, that's 3 years.
2 years. So for you, your age mates, so at least you had somebody growing up in that age, eh?
Yeah.
Okay. So Joanne, Christine and Enoch have something in common. They were the retirement babies, and clearly their relationship with their siblings has translated to who they are today, their worldview about relationships and friendships. Talk about that connection.
Yes, it's very interesting to see the two of them having very similar things, because the children, the last borns who are 5 years apart from their other siblings, adopt both a last and a firstborn kind of a way of life. So they tend to want to, they are more focused, they are highly likely to be go-getters. Basically, most of the firstborn traits, they marry the two. And so even the maturity, they look more mature than their peers because of the firstborn kind of, expectation or picking those traits. But also in terms of relationships, they relate more with mature people. But remember, they are already mature. They're already looking at life like firstborns, more responsible. So they tend to want to look at people who are more mature than them. Now, they relate with siblings a lot more better than the last ones who have very shorter,
gaps between them.
Yes. So these ones relate with their siblings better. They have more stable relationships. They benefit from those relationships much, much more than the ones who are very small gaps in that sense. So yes, we see those similarities, just not with them, but largely with those ones who have a bigger gap. The relationships with siblings is better because they are also not in their space as much. They are in their space both for proper protection, healthy protection, and also for guidance. So they experience their siblings more better, and their relationships through life are also much more better. They don't feel a lot picked on like these ones whose gap is very, very small.
Okay, and clearly a lot of myths are being busted today as far as last borns are concerned, but there are some who are saying, last borns are a certain way. Talk to us. Do you still think they are spoiled? So that hashtag is a new normal. If you can have some of that feedback on the screen. Do we have some of it? All right. Waroi Kabaka says, hii ya kwetu imetandika kitanda sai inadai 2 hours za kupumzika. So the first rule is the bed na mechoka. Anne Georges says, I'm a last born, very hardworking. Inategemea na vile ulilelewa. Very true, Anne. That is actually coming out of this conversation. Oscar says, being a lastborn is an experience which someone develops a character based on how the elder siblings behave. It varies from one family to another. And yes, I think that has been proven here today, even as we try to understand the role and impact of being a lastborn in the family. But there's also something else that came out of this whole maturity, the independence that comes with it. For example, Christine, you say you were set up right because there are things you've been able to achieve just because of that positioning and enabling by your siblings. Talk about that.
So I find by virtue of being let free to do as what's best for me based on the judgment and the values that have been instilled in me, I find that coupled with being open-minded has led me to go down paths that maybe I would have been a little bit less courageous to go down. So one such example is I ran a program called Life Plan that I developed, and that's an entire career change from what it is I usually do. And maybe if I was burdened with expectations of what it is I need to do, in life and how I need to behave, I wouldn't have the courage to do some of the things that I do, to move from one thing to the other thing based on what I believe is the right thing for me to do with my life.
Okay. And Kate, they say tied to that, the other characteristic that is positive is that lastborns are more likely to stretch themselves and try new challenges. They're more, you know, spontaneous. Do you feel that way?
Yes, I truly agree to that, because myself, I'm one person who is daring and a risk taker. So at one point when a thought comes into my mind, when an idea hits my mind, I'll want to try it and see where it will lead me. So yeah, I am that kind of a person who is spontaneous as well. Yeah.
Now, Enoch, have you ever walked into the home with purple hair?
Not yet.
Not yet.
But also, I think the path was easier for me because my brother has dreadlocks. So my parents became open-minded early.
Okay. Now, as they said, and I mentioned earlier, is that there's a leeway to just take risks, you know, without even thinking through the process, because somehow life has set you up knowing someone else will always have your back. Do you feel that way?
Not in that perspective. Not that someone else will have my back, but them having gone through the same path and them advising you can do it. So it's coming from an informed place.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's not fallback. It's coming from an informed place because the people you're with have gone through the same path before, and they're just giving you assurance.
Okay.
So keep going. Yeah.
Now, Joanne, there are some lastborns whose parents always say, I wonder when that call comes through, what they have done this time round. Because some are very impetuous to a point where they don't think about the consequences, they just do. So now, relate how this lastborn is given leeway to spread their wings, but also it can be counterproductive.
Now that is entirely on how the child was brought up. Because part of what happens is if you raise a child to experience life, because that's what brings spontaneity later in life. Like they are not overdwelling, overanalyzing, is I want this, I can go for it. But there are also lastborns who were set for limits. Limits were very clear. This is how far you go, because if you get past this, then it's going to have these effects. Now, that does not mean you stop the child from experiencing the limits. They go through it, but because they want to go past that and not be responsible, then when they go past that, you allow them to face the consequences. Now, that brings the lastborn to a point of knowing, yes, I can do anything, but I am also responsible for it early enough. So this is not a lastborn thing. It is if they were not allowed to experience limits earlier on, they will not know what the consequences are as adults. Na how do watashinda kwa wazazi? Send me this money, I'm in this space, I am lost, please save me. And the parent will feel the need to save them because they have never learned to experience their own consequences. It's even sad if you're saving adults because they are lastborns. They need to begin to experience. If you didn't do it earlier, now is okay to do. But also there are lastborns who had a sense of responsibility. More like what
yes, Joel, yes.
He's talking about, and you go through life knowing that you can't have it easy. If you do it this way, then you will face that consequence because it does exist naturally. And as such, they learn that together with my openness to experience, that if I want this, I can go for it. But I also know if I fail, then it's on me. Or because I know I can't have anyone bailing me out, then I need to consult a little more. So it's purely on how they were raised, the parenting of this lastborn. If they were given everything, they were still saved from their consequences, then clearly, more like when the child is, the lastborn is misbehaving, Gladys, is hitting others, and they are told, move away from them. That's the baby. instead of having the baby face the consequences of, you know, chocozying the rest.
Yes.
So when that happens, they know that, oh, I can have it my way, but I'll also face the consequence. As adults, they will have the same. And it will be so ingrained that they will know no one will save me.
Okay, but still on the same point before we take a short break, having the fact that you're the last born and everyone having your back to an extent, doesn't it also give you the willpower to try out new things, be more of a risk taker in life, knowing that at least you have a support system?
Now, that gives them an advantage. Different from the firstborn, but it does not make them irresponsible. You know, those are two different words. So it gives them an advantage because they know I have so many siblings who can come through for me. The firstborn may know that I only have myself. I don't have that luxury. Now that is a positive thing that they can use. But it also doesn't allow them to be irresponsible. Because sometimes we encourage irresponsibility because they have other people. The other siblings, if the family is healthy, they can decide, no, we are not encouraging irresponsibility. Own it, deal. So yes, there is an advantage, I agree. And the last ones can gladly use that advantage. But that's different from being irresponsible.
Okay, now note that this conversation is not only being heard from the experiences of the lastborns, but we are also learning what parents can do better to set up their lastborns to face life. Now, when we come back, again, remember, these are lastborns who are now grown. They are part and parcel of different relationships. Christine is married with 3 kids. We have Kate who is dating, and I don't know about the status of Enoch, but we'll find out right after this short break.
Enjoy the best family entertainment on StarTimes Classic or Smart Bouquet.
Oh yes.
Subscribe to Classic Bouquet for only $899 for 30 days or Smart Bouquet for only $999 for 30 days. Come on eBay. Ni StarTimes.
We smoothly transitioned to virtual learning, which effectively accommodated digital tutoring, even held our 29th graduation online, and having the next one in November 2021. Register now for the ongoing September intake. St. Paul's University, your university of choice.
So your baby's quite active. After I discovered Molfix, I rediscovered my baby. She's jumping and running around. Well, we call that the Molfix Comfort.
Thanks to its elastic side bands, Molfix provides freedom of movement for your baby.
All babies deserve a high-quality diaper. You should also try Molfix.
Just one capful of Dettol is enough to disinfect surfaces and protect your family and your home. Dettol, tested effective against COVID-19.
Boss, hurry! Miss Renata! Miss Renata!
Doctor, what happened?
Darling, you're alive, my love. They made me believe you had died.
Roberta!
Kwetu Mix in association with Coca-Cola.
Introducing Kwetu Mix.
Okay, but don't need no intro.
Tangu tuingie kwa hii mchezo si ndo heartbeat. Nairobi City tunairan kama heartbeat.
If you know, you know.
We have a banger. Nisho, ni wapi uliniona? Kwetu Mix on MTV.
Tutakuletea updates zote about all the trendy and popular entertainment events.
Yes, bana.
Kwetu Mix, keep it locked. NTV, don't touch the dial.
Kwetu Mix in association with Coca-Cola.
Siku malipo imefika. Dad is not here.
Ukiona msichana ameanza kuingia kwa relationship mpya na mtu mwingine.
Hizi ni story gani sasa?
Si sawa tu, poraja huwezi itikia, lakini hiyo ni ukweli.
Do you have any proof?
Unaamini kangeza sana, unanifollow. Unadhani mimi ni Jesus nini? Unadhani mimi ni Twitter? Nini sasa? Nini yangu?
Pieces of Us in association with Nivea Nourishing Cocoa Body Lotion.
It's time to show off your best skin. Wear your skin with pride every time with Nivea Nourishing Cocoa Body Lotion.
It is your world. My name is Gladys Gachanja, still on the conversation on Last Bonds. But before we get to that very interesting conversation, let's take a look at the other worlds. Now, tresses swirl and fins shimmer as tens of people don tails and dive into a weekend of all things mermaid at the Mermagic Convention in Manassas, Virginia, in the eastern United States. Now, the convention is billed as the world's largest, dedicated to mermaids, and attracts enthusiasts from all walks, or in this case, swims of life.
It's really for everyone, because you don't necessarily have to swim to be a mermaid. You don't even necessarily have to have a tail. There's a legend of a different kind of mermaid in just about every society going back as far as history has been recorded, which means that there's really no wrong way to be a mermaid.
This is definitely not a cheap hobby. The tail I'm wearing now is probably between $2,000 and $3,000. Everything that goes into it on top of that, I'm lifeguard certified. I'm in the process of getting free diving certified to make sure I'm safe. And all those things do cost a little bit more money than you'd think.
I post Justine on the Society of Fat Mermaids Instagram. Somebody's going to see Justine and be like, hey, I can do that too. And so we kind of like help people realize that there's a certain type of like mermaid magic for them that they didn't even consider sometimes before they became aware of the Society of Fat Mermaids.
So there is a lot of trying to capture that essence of it. So with a regular person, you're kind of trying to just guide them through a photo shoot, where with mermaids, you're trying to give them an experience that they're, you know, a real life mermaid, and I'm just capturing them at the right time.
Well, as the world celebrated the International Cat Day on August the 8th, Palestinian cat rescuer Mohammed Shehadeh opened up his home, where he provides much-needed care and rehabilitation to neglected cats before finding them a permanent home. Now, founder of Gaza's Sulala Animal Rescue, Saeed Al-Air, gives us a glimpse of an injured cat inside a veterinary clinic following a road accident. Mahmoud says some people abandon them. These are the cats, they play with them for a day or two or three, but when the cat breaks or gets sick or gets fleas, they don't take the cat to the clinic for treatment. The easiest thing is to dispose of it in the streets. So I take them, treat, raise them, and look for people to adopt them. Now, there are some adopters who raise these cats correctly, and others, they're those who leave them in the streets again after a month or two. This is the difficulty in raising cats in the Gaza Strip. Elsewhere, 3,000 Berliners celebrate a unique picnic known as the Freedom Dinner on the runway of former Tegel Airport to send the message, Berlin loves you, to the world. Now, the 800-meter-long lettering was formed from more than 1,000 dinner tables. And Emily, one of the diners who came with her friend, says, above all, I think it's nice to see the whole airport area again when it's closed like this. And I just wanted to do something with my friends and get out again after all the COVID stuff. Now, the Berlin-Brandenburg Airport CEO added that everyone being able to experience Tegel Airport again in a completely different way is a great gesture to the people of Berlin. And of course, we are also showing that Berlin is back. Berlin is an open city again. We are happy for tourists and visitors.
Und insofern, glaube ich, bin ich damit auch...
Back to our conversation of the day, and that is the role of lastborns. A lot of learnings from this conversation, and I'm sure even our panelists have learned a thing or two about how they view life and perhaps how they even react to some of the things that have been handed to them in their adult life. And speaking about adult life, I'd like to understand who you are in relationships, you know, intimate relationships, marriage. Christine, you're married, 3 kids. Who are you in the relationship?
You need to be a bit clearer with that question.
All right.
So
which personality are you?
Sorry?
Which personality are you? Which personality do you take up in the marriage?
So I'm definitely a take charge kind of person. So I think my dominant choleric side comes out. So I like to take charge. I like to plan a lot. I like a lot of order. I'm very intentional in the type of parent. I'm very intentional in the type of parenting I do and in the type of children that I would love to raise. So I take notice of my children, each of my children's strengths, and I try and bring out those elements in each of them. However, I do notice, like my firstborn son, who is 10, tends to think that he has the short end of the stick because he's the one who has a lot of responsibilities and he's always being told to do better. But I'm also very aware that I need to make him aware of the advantages and disadvantages of his position in the family as being the firstborn, and the disadvantages and disadvantages of my middle child, and the advantages and disadvantages of my youngest. But at the same time, still trying to bring out the strengths of each and every one of them. So for me, my style of appearing as a parent, as a wife, is to be very intentional, to bring out the best in who I am with or who I surround myself with.
Okay, so your husband, what personality is he?
So we are 2 lastborns, so maybe the stereotype is just we are doomed. But his personality type is very happy-go-lucky. He's very sanguine, choleric. So he also does take charge, but he's a little lighter than I am. So I'm very much a planner in how I execute my day-to-day running of my home.
Okay, so perhaps you are the side of the last born that saves the house from looking like how we saw in the meme when two last borns get married.
Probably. But he's also quite organized, eh?
Uh-huh. Okay, interesting. And Kate, for you, who are you in a relationship? I know you are dating.
Well, for me, I'm more of a sanguine. I'm the hype one, the noisy one, the ever talkative, ever jumpy one. And I'm also kind of a little into the management kidogo, just a little, like planning and organizing for hangouts and all that. Just a little, yeah.
Okay, and who are you dating? A firstborn, middleborn, lastborn?
Firstborn.
Aha, how did we end up there?
Yes. Interestingly, when we started dating, that wasn't in my mind. Like, I didn't think about what born he was. It wasn't in my mind until later on. Actually, even when you asked the question is when I started thinking, actually, how did we get up to be firstborn and lastborn? It was never in my mind when we started dating, yeah.
Think about it. What are the things that attract you to him?
For me, it's his gentleness. He's gentle. He's just sweet. He's relaxed. He's calm. He's the people that, now you see, being a hype girl, being an extrovert to some extent, I found myself also attracted to his introverted side. Like, he's just calm. Like, I love his introverted side in a way that it complements my extrovertness. Yeah, that's what is interesting on his end. Yeah.
Okay, being a firstborn, I'm curious to know, is he now in the corporate life more a bit serious?
Yeah, he is, but not so much. He can also be relaxed in a way, and he's fun to be around, by the way. He's not that too serious kind of type. And actually, sometimes I tend to be a bit serious in the relationship to a point where he tells me, now relax, just relax, take it easy, like just find something interesting to do. Don't be so busy, don't be so occupied by doing. He kind of bring the other aspect of relaxing. He's actually so good at relaxing, like just resting his mind, relaxing. He's actually just so good at it. On that side, I learned from him.
Okay, yeah. Interesting perspective. So Enoch, you're the only one. I don't know who's your status. So are you dating?
No, I'm not. I'm single.
All right. And the times you've dated, who have you seen yourself attracted to?
I used to date a lastborn. But I actually also don't think about it in that way. But now, actually, I've had to think about it right now. She was the lastborn.
Okay. And now, in retrospect, do you think perhaps both of you being lastborns is why it didn't work out?
There were very many things, but I think maybe that was one of the things.
Yeah. And when you are in a relationship, what's your personality?
My personality in general, I'm an ambivert. I have elements of introvert and extrovert. But I think I lie more on the introvert because I think also it was affected by my growing up. I had to keep quiet to learn. Yeah, so I was the one always observing, always looking. But when I talk, I'll talk sense. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Interesting, because early on when we started this conversation, I mentioned that in our journey on birth orders, we've realized that they heavily influence the personality, the interest, and the achievement of a person to a very large degree. John, we're hearing personality types, who gets attracted to who you are in a relationship, who you are as a parent. Talk about this and that exposure of a last one.
The personality part is very, very unclear because there are all those other factors that we've heard about. But let me talk about who they tend to attract and why. And I know, like they said, they have not even thought about it. But most of the lastborns who had a large gap between them and the others, who adopt almost part of firstborn, can easily get married or attract lastborns. Because they have the aspect of the firstborn, the organized, the person who sees the, the leader, so they can easily marry lastborns and not conflict. There are these others who felt that they were not thought of, they were oppressed, their space was taken. And those ones may not attract firstborns because they feel like firstborns will continue to oppress them. They are likely to attract middlers. The peace lovers, the negotiators, the ones who think about others. They are likely,
middle bonds.
Yes, the middle bonds now. So these ones who felt like their space was completely taken from them, they were so oppressed, they are likely to attract the middlers. But when they attract last bonds, they may have conflicts because each one of them wants a lot of attention. So they are likely to attract and make peace with the middlers because those ones are very peaceful, very considerate, negotiators. They give them that space. But then the ones who were overprotected, the ones who were pampered for so long or babied for so long, tend to again attract firstborns because those are the ones who are likely to continue the same. Now, while it is true that most lastborns are more extroverted, then they are likely to get attracted to other ambiverts or introverts because they sort of provide some level of calm. Otherwise, if you're two extroverts, you compete to talk. So because you don't want your space taken again, tend to pick on these others in terms of, but it is not all lastborns who are extroverts really, although most of them are outgoing. So the personality depends with very many other factors and which personality you attract. If the lastborn is the go-getter, the one that takes risks, they may want someone then who is a little more calm because one will be running towards this direction and the other one running towards this direction. So who they attract is more dependent on all the other factors than just the birth position. Yeah.
Now for Christine, it's an interesting perspective because she's married to a lastborn, but her personality, being choleric, she seems to be in charge.
Yes.
Do you see that a lot at times when those two meet?
Yes.
Yeah.
Reasonably so, again, because she had a very big gap. So she adopted to the firstborn traits. Again, she's last and first in a sense.
Yeah.
So she is in charge because of that aspect. It gives her an advantage. Their marriage being two lastborns is not like the ones we were talking about. And you've heard that clearly.
Yes.
And again, not all lastborns are messy, really. But when you look at those factors, and this is why we need to not think about lastborns as a lastborn or firstborn as a firstborn. We need to look at the factors that were, that they were raised in, how the parenting was like, how the siblings were like, because some firstborns who are go-getters, who are able to take charge, they end up becoming the cholerics. And therefore, a choleric cannot be the one that is under. They'll definitely take charge.
Yes.
So yes, I see this a lot because of all the other factors and exactly if they are last or last first.
Okay.
Or if they are last but their home was very different. They were allowed to learn their own things, to run their own life. They were made accountable for their own things. So these ones are very special. The homes where they took advantage and they were able to also bear their own consequences are very, very different from where everything goes, we will save you.
All right, somebody is actually putting this out. John says, I have also seen that lastborns get or attracted to only children. What do they have in common?
Lastborns and only children.
Yes.
Only children, again, are very diverse because they can be the go-getters, the only ones that where the parent didn't live, they want to live through the only child that exists. So only children can have two dynamics. They can be the ones who are over-pampered, like the lastborns. They also can be the responsible ones, like firstborns. So again, it depends with which only child and which last born again.
Okay.
There are two dynamics.
All right. So even as we bring this conversation to a close, Christine, I heard you mention that you're being very intentional about how you're bringing up your own children, reminding them their pros and cons that come with their birth order. And I'm just wondering, as a last born with the kind of experience you've had, is there anything you would have changed about your upbringing, perhaps, that would have made it a bit easier for you?
No, I think my upbringing was fantastic. I really did enjoy everything I was exposed to. The only thing I really missed was having somebody to play with when I was little, because I was always, there are certain games you can't play with your siblings because they are much older than you. But other than that, my upbringing was fantastic. I really did benefit a lot from my position and from my family.
And has that informed the spacing between your kids?
No, the spacing between my kids has not been intentional, but it seems to be following the pattern of my mother. But it was not intended that way at all. So I have a 10-year-old, I have a 6-year-old, and I have a 4-year-old, soon to be 5. But I do worry how I bring up my 2 girls, because they're the younger 2. I really am big on being an individual and owning your life. So I need to separate the 2 because the gap is really small, and treat them as individuals. So I'm very intentional about the product that I bring out, the type of person that I raise. Yeah.
Okay. All right. How about you, Kate? Is there something you would have changed, given a chance, about your upbringing as a last born?
For me, I don't think I would have changed much, because I really enjoyed it. I really liked it. And with that, it was such an interesting journey for me, especially coming from a large family where everyone was there for you. Everyone was, I was everyone's friend. The times where there was sibling rivalries, I was never a rival to anyone. So I would just be a friend to all of them. So for me, I don't think I would change anything as much per se. But growing up now, I think what I'm saying is being more intentional, even with where I am, being more intentional to step up into other just challenging roles and rising into different things, even as a last born, even in the family, because I think that's one challenge I've faced. I felt like, this one, maybe these guys can do it. This one's, just let me step aside. But I feel like now I really need to step up and, just take up the challenge as well as part of the family,
After this discussion now, will the intentionality also, pass on to how you bring up your own kids?
Yeah, actually, in a way, I've seen there's power in bringing up your kids in a way of telling them that you all are unique and important. There's no such thing as the firstborn should carry the load, and then the secondborn should just it will go easing like that. But I will change it in a way that just because you came first doesn't mean that now you're gonna be like a deputy parent or something, or just because I'm the last one doesn't mean I shouldn't help. So for me, I would change it in a way that we are all important and unique and special, and we should help each other all around. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Kate, kwa kututetea pia as the firstborns. Now, let me hear from Enoch. So, is there anything perhaps you would have tweaked, done a bit different in as far as bringing up the lastborn who was you?
I think that age difference also what difference? I think I would have wanted to be closer to them in age so that we grow together. But now this being alone, also being alone, that's what brought up the introverted side of me, because I had to enjoy my company. I had to enjoy being alone because now my siblings had grown and we're not dealing with the same things. When they're dealing with things of high school, I'm dealing with primary things. So I am learning from them where I need to go, but also I was alone dealing with
the
where I am.
now. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And so you're like Christine, you kind of missed having somebody to play with, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. But on the flip side, because now I think they ignited the arts in me, the music, because they used to sing. I have three siblings older than me, and I used to hear them sing together. So it helped me like start singing, like hearing harmonies. Yeah. So there's the pros and cons.
Yeah, like everything else in life. So, will you now be intentional about your own children? Like, watakuja teke wamefuatana?
I think so. I think itakuwa better hivyo.
All right.
Instead of leaving that big gap.
Okay. Thank you, Enoch. And Joanne, really, the essence of having this conversation is not only to hear the perspective of the last ones, but to also learn as parents what we should consider and look for in as far as achieving to raise a happy and well-adjusted, confident last born. What would you suggest?
For the last one, more responsibilities and also set clear limits so that they know life is not just about them, right? And the second thing I say is if you have 3 children, and you can't afford something for the 3, then don't buy it. But just buying something for the baby gives them an outright sense of entitlement. And therefore they move through life thinking that everyone needs to give up for their sake. Then also, if you are having other children and raising the last one, then you need to stop making them responsible over the last one. Knowing that all of them are children and each needs to be responsible. That way, then you raise a confidence and you allow them to experience life by default because they are last ones. But then you also make them learn responsibility that their life is theirs. Now, for firstborns, because we can't talk about lastborns, there have to be other borns.
Yes.
So for firstborns, let them, the expectations needs to go a little easy. Because it's too much for them, so that they can also learn to experience their life, and later in life they can do what they want.
Okay.
More parents learning to negotiate with firstborns other than to just set demands. For the midlars, create more time to see them. They want to be seen. They end up getting lost in between because attention is given to the first and to the last. So make effort to see them, to engage them, to let them know, appreciate their strengths, and also help them to raise where they are feeling like they are not important, they are not seen, they can just disappear. There's someone who told us that being a midler, the mom would serve food and always forget her because she was never in the vicinity. And then she would show up later and the mom would divide little from all
from everyone else.
It sounds laughable, but it's very serious. It works like that. So by balancing all the children, then even the last borns take their place, a healthy place better than only paying attention to these ones and having the firstborn parenting all the rest and having the midlars getting lost in between. So that's what parents can do.
Very well said, and I think that is such a good way to bring down the curtain on this series on birth orders. Such an enlightening series because we've learned that there is a lot about how you were parented, how you grew up, your birth order that actually speaks to the adult you are today, your worldview, and who you translate to even as a parent. Now, before I say goodbye, I'm told you're still talking to us, even as you try to say if it's a yay on the stereotypes on those lastborns or not. Sadiq says, I think the environments on which a last born was raised matters most. Now, yes, most of us were raised kwa kutekelezwa, but some are raised by strict parents who handle them in total disregard of position you hold in the family lineage. I think, Sadiq, that has been said very aptly, and says it depends with who brought you up. Our last born is so hardworking and focused, you'd think she's the firstborn. Another one. We have Kibet, who says laziness is an individual habit. It doesn't matter whether you're first or you're the last born. Ukweli Kibet. But then again, socialization matters. Sam Nyauma says some of us are last borns by counting, but literally we are assistant parents. Interesting twist. Kimatich Neville says our last born huwa anapumzika kabla hajafanya kazi. Alright, Richie Odongo says Sahi anasema nitateswa kwa hii nyumba, nitahama huku. Oh really? When it comes to working hard. Alright, last born is saying if you want to talk to me, do it directly. Last born, haya basi. Utatueleza more about your experience. And Paulo Chilo here says, mnatuonea tu, but we are good people. We never said you're bad people. We just said there are certain characteristics that have been seen that are actually associated to last born. So thank you so much to Joanne Kirera, family married child psychologist, Enoch Wambua, who is a last born, Kate Waka, also a last born, and Christine Jagi, last born, who've also been part of giving us insights about the role of a last born. Now, tomorrow morning, we take leave of a Studio Bashal pitch tent at a fitness center in the city as we learn a thing or two about boxing and in particular uppercut fitness. Now, there are numerous benefits to the exercise as it not only focuses on upper body movement but also engages the full body. So join me from 7 a.m. as we get our boxing gloves on. See you then.